What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Gary Numan. And I wanted to give a big shout out to Doug. Sent me a number of things recently. I'm still starting to go through it all, and ultimately, as I mentioned in a few different reaction series, until the end of this month or until the 26th, I'm just going to be very busy. I'm working on a project. So yeah, reactions in general will be limited the next week and a half, but we'll get back to the regular rhythm after that. Nevertheless, he did send me a number of things, so shout out to you, Doug. And one of the things he sent me is, I don't even know if this is 7-inch. I feel like this is like a 5-inch or something. But either way, he sent me a record of Gary Numan, which includes on one side We Are Glass, and on the other side Cars. Now, I don't know this for certain, but I sort of had a revelation when I saw the vinyl. It was like, wait a minute, is that the "Here in my car, I feel safest of all, I can lock all my doors"? And I was like, wait, is it that song? And it occurs to me that I remember that song from my youth, from my very early childhood. I remember hearing that and thinking, oh, that has a cool electronic sound too. As many people know, one of the earliest groups I got into is Lucas Wandering Around Meowing. Was Depeche Mode, and part of the reason is because I love their electronic synth sound. And that's another song, Cars, that stood out to me. But I didn't know anything about Gary Numan, and so I never really, followed that rabbit hole. I remember maybe early 2000s, there was a, I think, Volkswagen commercial in which the song was used. And when I heard it at that time, it was like, oh man, I remember that song from the 80s. I totally remember that tune. But even then, it didn't spur a, oh, who is that? I have to look into the artist. So for whatever reason, it's a song that I remember from my youth and even coming back later, and I enjoyed it, but for whatever reason, I didn't pursue that lead, if you will. So now that, again, I'm still learning who Gary Numan is musically, I went through about half of Pleasure Principle before jumping back in time to go through the Two-Way Arby self-titled album, and I have the album that comes after that. But yeah, I know a little bit about Gary Numan now. I understand a bit about his pioneering synth work, and the artists like him and John Fox, as well as again, a number of early, even late 70s, early 80s, like Human League, I suppose, would be another example. You're gonna knock things down, and I need you not to knock things down. In any case, as long as I'm thinking correctly, I do in fact know this tune, but it would be nice to now re-engage with it with a bit more of a sense of who Gary Numan is. So let's get it. This is Gary Numan's Cars from 1979, heard here on a very small record. I want to say it's like a 5-inch, because I think it's smaller than a 7-inch. Either way, it is on Old Gold Records, and yeah, this is Gary Numan's Cars. Such a weird, doing these reactions is very rewarding. Learning, but also reconnecting and better understanding. That transition, it sort of floats into the next section. Proper tambourine. Melody mixed with the tambourine percussive groove. That melody is just towering. the phrase and label new wave is very appropriately applied here. It's like even now in 2023, it feels new, fresh, like. Very psychological and cosmic at the same time, which is funny because it sounds like it's about more terrestrial and daily experience type of concepts. Certainly that bit that again I was familiar with going into it. The here in my car I feel safest of all, can lock all my doors. The last line I think is a bit funny, although I still think it fits with the more like philosophical concept of having a place that even more than a residence, you can, it's not only yours but you can move about in it, you can use it for transportation. It's your own unit, it's your own little place on planet Earth. So like psychologically, I think it's an interesting idea just in those lines, and there's some other lines that I didn't hear fully. So I am curious about the concepts behind the song. But yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a pretty big hit, surely. It's certainly one that I remember from my youth, and again, if they were using it in commercials like 20 years later, it suggests to me that it was known to have a certain degree of nostalgic cachet, if you will. So yeah, definitely a tune that I think showcases his again, pioneering synth work. This is 79. This is not even 80 yet. And it would be 2-3 more years till some of the really famous acts that we think of, we being pop culture memory and so on, for the early 80s synth sound. It'd be a couple years till they even got started. So yeah, bottom line, really cool tune. Nice to reconnect with it with a bit more knowledge about who Gary is. Still learning, of course. But yeah, again, I'm going to keep going through the albums that I've been going through. I am curious what people think about listening to the other side, which is what is it? We Are Glass, is that right? Make sure I have that right. Yeah, We Are Glass. So let me know if you think I should react to that or just jump back to Two-Way Army and eventually get back to where this track would be in the, again, I assume this is at the time that he's making Pleasure Principle, because that's also released 79. So I don't know if either of those tunes is on Pleasure Principle. If they are, I haven't gotten to them yet. In any case, yeah, let me know what you think about that. Other than that, thank you again to Doug. I will see you next time. Peace.